What does it take for flawlessness? Allison Williams explores this idea in the Netflix film The Perfection. It's a twisty horror thriller, but should you sit down to watch it? The trailer for The Perfection was fairly ambiguous. I mean, I didn't really know what I was in for when I sat down to watch. The basic premise for the film is that we have a brilliant cellist, played by Allison Williams, and she was at an elite academy. And after a long hiatus, she decides to track down her old instructors, who also own and run the academy as well. And when she does that, she meets the newest, just like the top tier cellist in their class, or in their school rather, and she begins a friendship with her. And then the weirdness begins. A lot of the shots in the movie remind me of Alfred Hitchcock. I mean, it was really cool because you would have a lot of the action happening in the background, and then just a side of a face or a back of a head, something like that, of another character way in the foreground. Sometimes they were in focus and it was out of focus in the back, or vice versa. But it was really cool to watch this, and they employed it not too much, but I felt enough so that it was consistent throughout it. Sometimes you get these gimmicky shots where they're like, ooh, we'll do it once or twice and then we never do it again. Well, The Perfection also did that. They put like this weird rig on the front of Allison Williams at one point, and so when she turns, the camera turns also, and so you only see her in the center of the frame. And while sometimes that can be really good, because this was the only time it was ever used and it's towards the end of the film, it was almost distracting because it didn't fit with how everything else we had seen going on. The story is told in chapters, and although chapter 2 was kind of predictable, I mean, I felt where it was going, and it turned out that I was right. The rest of it, I didn't totally know what I was in for, and I couldn't really guess what was going to happen. And so I got to enjoy the ride more than just, oh man, everything is going to be just hinged on this, and it's going to be very disappointing because I'm going to see every twist or turn. And no, I didn't, which I liked. Now, Allison Williams does a great job. I mean, I get sometimes a Get Out vibe from her. I mean, go figure, because she's in Get Out. But she has some of the same looks that she employed in that, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, she was convincing, and she's driven and she's focused, and she might be a little off. We don't totally know. Logan Browning plays Lizzie, who is the star cellist. She is the new one, the one that has replaced or surpassed, or whatever you want to call it, Allison Williams' character. I mean, she is now the epitome of who everyone in the cello world aspires to be. She's really convincing in her role, and I loved her intensity. And she has these, like, I don't know if they're light blue or light green eyes, but when the light hits them certain ways, I mean, they're piercing. So it was really cool to just watch her in certain moments because she got more intense without really doing too much. Now, a surprise for me in the film was Steven Weber. He plays the owner, the head instructor, the whatever you want to call it, of the academy, and he's good. I mean, it was like surprising just to see him in this. I didn't know he was in it, but then he plays his role really, really well. Now, despite it being only 90 minutes, they pack in a ton into the story, and I didn't feel like they were leaving stuff out, and I didn't feel like it was so filled that they were rushing through things either. Now, there are points in time where, as the story's unfolding, I have like questions because I see something or I hear something and it's not explained. But then they go and they explain it later when it fits in the story. And I thought that was great because I didn't leave, finish the movie with all of these, well, what about this or what about this? No, they answered it all, just not necessarily in the time that I wanted them to, but it fit really well with the narrative that they were telling. Even though parts of it were predictable, it was a tense watch, and I had fun with it. If you enjoy twists and turns in your movies, then I suggest you give this one a try. No, it is not the twistiest, with all kinds of surprises and it's just wrapped into a pretzel, but it still does a good job. There's a lot of sex, nudity, violence, and profanity. I give The Perfection 3.5 out of 5 couches. What is a really good movie with twists and turns that maybe you don't see coming, or you do, but it's still such a great watch? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.